can't pass on over to a better person.
Well, what we're saying is this, right? Okay, because I get a lot of stick because I was involved in common law and stuff, and which is perfectly correct. But again, it's a lot of that stuff. You're talking law stuff. It's over the hedge, and that's where the problems lie. What Mr. Ebert's done is he's actually given us a tool to dismantle them, right? Okay, because we know it's wrong, not just constitutionally, but on a moral basis. When people are trying to come around and take someone's house based on certain kinds of time. But of course, if we haven't got the tools, if they're coming around us, we haven't got the tools. It's wrong morally, it's wrong constitutionally, right? But it's not wrong inside their remit, inside the statutory mechanism, okay? Because they think they can do anything they want, right? So the fact that we've been given the tools to dismantle their apparatus is exactly what we always needed. I always knew this was wrong, and then when I met Mr. Ebert, I met someone who actually could prove to me that it was wrong. Improve it, So by taking apart their system with their own rules and regulations, we're able to expose to the general public where we're coming from. We're not just saying, oh yeah, well, he should have paid his mortgage. And well, hang on, they should have had the correct paperwork.
Thank you.
Well, so we've got them by the balls, as it were, And Mr. Ebert's documents are so simple, that's what it is really, one page, notice and demand, and implied admission, absent a response. All of you, any documents you do, right, okay, always put that on the bottom. Implied admission, absent a response. Because what that means is, you see, in civil law, you've got a thing called the ancient doctrine of acquiesced estoppel. So that's why if you've got a £70 bill for not paying your car parking ticket, and if you don't pay it within 2 weeks, it goes up to 140. The reason they can say it's 140 is because it's the ancient doctrine of acquiesced estoppel. They've said if you don't pay it within 2 weeks, it becomes double the amount. And you've consented to that by that. Okay? So when we respond to them, it's implied admission absent a response and compliance. Okay? Because they're our servants, we want them to comply with us.
Correct.
So it's implied admission absent a response. So what I'm saying to you is this. In the criminal law, there used to be a thing called right to silence, which still exists. They can't get rid of common law principles. But in the 90s, Tony Blair made a thing that, well, a jury can take an inference from somebody not responding. So when the police interview you, they'll say that if you don't give a response, a jury can take an inference from it. Well, it works for us now, because if we write to these criminals who are trying to harass us in their acting capacity and they don't respond, and we've given them a time limit, and we put implied admission, absent a response and compliance, and they don't respond within that time, then we're entitled to presume that what we've got is we've got an admission of guilt document. I gave Solon a document, 14 days. He was a person of reasonable standards. He would have responded within that time. He didn't, And that's your first enclosure. Your second enclosure is where you say to them, they can resolve the problem, okay? So they can say, look, you've not resolved it, we'll give you another one, which is called, I've forgotten off the top of my head. A remedy to it, so you're giving them another chance of it, and then ultimately, if they don't respond to that, I'll think of the word in a second. Then you're away. So it's very, very simple. So holding them by their own rules, not getting all the equity and all the, look, at the end of the day, myself and Michael Doherty said to me, it's the Easter egg hunt. Everybody thinks if we find a certain key, if only I'd said that to the judge. Bollocks. They make it up as they go along, as Veronica says. Right, okay? Bollocks. Equity. Well, bollocks. Doesn't exist anymore. None of that exists. It's correct, but it doesn't exist. Same as common law. It's correct, but it doesn't exist because they're operating in a completely different remit, right? So what Mr. Ebert's done is analyse and scrutinise their material to the point where we can actually take them apart inside their own documentation. And 542 is very important because it means that we've got access to the court file in 48 hours. 541 is very important because I was trying to file commercial liens, as I called them then, notarial instruments and things for years, and they weren't accepting it. But under 541 you can do it. So under their own rules, you apply the right rule. I don't know if anybody's seen the Lawnmower Man film, yeah?
Yeah.
Access denied, access denied. You've got to press the right button, right? And if you press the right button, you'll get the right result with these claims, yeah? And that's, and if you don't, great, because you can expose to the public, these people, they don't hold their own rules. So what have they got? If they haven't got their own rules, we know they're breaking the law under common law, we know they're constitutionally incorrect, they're morally incorrect, so what the hell have they got? Well, give me you, and what you're getting, and like Sloan saying, you don't get documents, okay? You don't get documents off these people because they don't give you them because they're fraudulent. And they probably don't know that, but the people who give them certainly do, under no circumstances hand that document over. So they hold it under pain of death, yeah?
Notice of fault, opportunity to
Right. So you give them notice of, there you go, notice of fault, opportunity to cure, the second one. So all the stuff that Robert Menard was saying 10 years ago that I was interested in is correct, yeah? Because basically you're going through a process, and implied admission, absent response. You know, if I say to you that, you know, you've done something to me and you don't respond, I can prove that you've had it, service of the document, and you haven't responded within the allotted time, then I give you an opportunity to cure the fault, and you don't, and that's when you go for the lien angle of stuff, the notarial instrument. And I did all these things years ago. Well, I didn't even know why I did it really, but I knew it was right. I didn't know why at the time, and I didn't try and exercise them. And I know now, God, it's almost like someone was telling me not to exercise them because I've still got them. And they're still acting judgment. So it's great. You're just basically putting these people to task. So, and Mr. Egret stuff is the way to go. Because we can physically stop all this shit with communication by just turning up. And secondly, they're not going to give us the documentation. Hey, I mean, do any of you know a case where they've handed anyone any documents recently? No? I mean, I'm watching stuff on YouTube. Has anyone get any documents? And it's like Wesley and that running around it. No? You know, well, why not? I mean, if I was giving someone, I'd be there and giving them the stuff. Hey, mate, I'm legitimate. You know? No, they haven't got it. And this boils back down to the judges themselves, right? Because what's happening, everything that's happening is being operating in a private commercial capacity. So when you're going into these courtrooms, they're in the venue of the court. They're in a building that's court, but it might as well be a tennis court or a badminton court. It's not a court of law. It's a private commercial capacity. That's what they're operating in. And so when you go in there and there's a judge, that man, he may be a judge in the criminal court, a QC, which is what they usually give me, who think they're clever people. But to me, they're just big criminals. When I'm dealing with district judges in county courts, they're just failed solicitors who sit inside the county court for 16 or 18 appearances a year. They're clowns, they don't know nothing, right? They're acting as neutral arbitrators, supposedly, you know. But when they put a QC in front of me, I know that guy is a criminal, right? So you call it like it is, right? I was in Hereford Crown Court, which they used for against me, against Barclays Bank, the official receiver, and this bench solicitor, and they had 3 barristers and me. I asked for individual hearings. They had the judge who hates me, right? His name's Piers Higgins, and he's a QC. So as a QC, he would be there putting people in jail for murder. He should be a proper judge, but he sat on this civil hearing, and he's never given me an order because he knows that his orders are void, and he knows that he won't sign his orders. Well, if you won't sign his orders, if I've only got an MOT, which is a statutory instrument, the same as any court judgment, if I went down to and got an MOT and I walked out of the MOT and hang on, he hadn't signed it, I took it back in, excuse me mate, can you sign that? You stand under your own work, didn't you? Well, they won't stand under their own work because they're commercially liable because they're operating outside the boundaries afforded by legislation and outside their oath of office. So it's fraud. So what we've got to do with these people, what Guy Taylor's doing, and if anyone else is interested, that's what I'm telling you, right, is you put them to task on it, right? So when you're appearing with these claims, you tell them straight, I know you're operating in a private capacity. I know that you're operating in a private capacity, and this is just business and commerce. And so what I did, because he won't give me any court orders anymore, he'll physically give me a court order, and the last time we were there, all the public galleries started slow hand clapping him, which is great.
He said, "You're a criminal, Mr. Taylor."
I said, no, I was 20, 25 years ago. You know, I was a stupid twat, really. I was a young boy who didn't... I said, but that's why I recognise criminals like you, right? And all the barristers with their things, all of that. And they put the three of them, and ultimately, we ripped them apart. And in the end, again, like Paula's thing, where they turned their back, public confidence. They got no confidence, it don't exist. Right, because that's all they got. They got no law.
The security guards are as well.
Security guards in the court there, awesome dudes, you know, and they will say, look, if it really kicks off, we're on your side. I guarantee you, I swear to you that, and they said that straight to their ex-army boys, and I said, you know, we know this is a load of shit, we watch what goes on YouTube, because, you know, bless them, you know, the sheeple, you know, the flock are watching Sky and watching BBC, and they're not engaging with this stuff. But I mean, more and more people are waking up by the moment.
Slowly.
Well, they are. But I mean, you know, I'll read this out to you, right? Because this is I've said to you about Piers Higgins, who's a corrupt judge, absolutely corrupt, right, okay? And I've had plenty of rows with him, and the best experience I had with him is when we were in the Crown Court, because they use the Crown Court to get more people in for the thing. I kept calling him administrator. I said, you might be a judge when you're in a Crown Court, but this isn't a Crown Court today, this venue is a civil court. You're administrator. I'm a judge. You're administrator. And of course the clerk's like sort of smiling at me and all that. And so halfway through it, just for a giggle, I said to the clerk, I said, can you give that to the administrator, please? And she turned around and gave it to him. And so I winked at it like that, so she knows that. So this clown here has given orders out against me for the last 2 years. So I'll read this out to you, and this is the sort of language, and you can afford to do this, right, okay? When you've actually given them a common law instrument, and they know, look, the reason they're laughing at us before was because we can't enforce common law. They know this is a common law jurisdiction, but we can't even enforce it. But they can enforce it with bailiffs, and the old Bill stood there like dummies behind them, yeah, who don't know the law. So engaging them with it in what they'll understand. And so this is what I did with this judge, because he'd give me all these orders verbally, but won't give me them physically. So I'll read this out, and this is what I sent to him. I sent this along with the commercial lien document, the notarial instrument. Well, Barclays owed me £100 million, and I said that he owes me £1 million for engaging in a private commerce with me. So, but this is the way. Don't be frightened of these people. I'm not telling you all to write to the judges telling you to get angry. But what I'm saying to you is, don't be frightened, because if they're not operating in their acting capacity, they're operating in a personal, private capacity, and they're not themselves. Again, and I've said earlier, a policeman, right, is a policeman. You will never see a case where a policeman has stolen something. Never. You can't have it, because a policeman is acting as a police officer. PC Chris Smith, if he come here and stole that in his uniform, the moment he stole it, he'd be operating outside the boundaries afforded him by legislation attached to his acting capacity, and PC Smith Chris Smith would be Chris Smith the moment he put that in his pocket. He wouldn't be the police officer. Right? So that's exactly where we are with these characters, right? And the same rules apply for the judges. They're making these orders, and that's why now they won't give me the orders. So what they're doing, this is what they're actually doing. They're letting the prosecution type out their own order. They're having the farce of a court case where they're saying, yes, no, you're talking gibberish. I've right roused them recently. But the court never produces the order. The prosecution, or whoever the claimant is, will produce it, but of course it's not legitimate. They're just trying to fool you into that, manufacture your consent. So I'll read this out. This is Judge Piers Higgins, QC. I sent this on the 10th of July, right? Dear Judge Piers Higgins, I wrote to him in his acting capacity. I am giving you the courtesy of writing and addressing this to you in your professional acting capacity. You will be aware that all actors must at all times operate inside the boundaries afforded them by the legislation attached to their acting role. Anyone operating outside these boundaries does so at their own peril, and are therefore then liable in their own private personal capacity. You appear to have acted as a judge in various civil matters concerning Guy Taylor, my legal fiction, since February 2012. Yet I have never received any signed or sealed orders to establish any existence, authenticity, or evidence of your professional work. You have been asked for and witnessed by members of the public, blatantly refusing to provide any material evidence of these alleged orders. Hereford County Court have been requested to provide this evidence, but are unable to provide any orders that have been signed or sealed. Hereford County Court staff have confirmed that no such orders exist in the court file. A jury is entitled to take an inference from silence or a non-response. It is my true and honest belief that no such legitimate signed and sealed orders actually exist. And this being the case, you are therefore acting in a private and personal capacity. We are all equal before the law. Myself and my entire family have suffered and continue to suffer as a result of your actions and those of the criminal known to you as Michael Horn, a bench solicitor I was in prison with in the 80s. He went really a solicitor. Michael Horn has a criminal record and is falsely claimed to be a solicitor. You're fully aware that he has a criminal record, and as an officer of the court you are aware of the SRA's standard requirements to be enrolled as a solicitor and that these could never be met by Horn. Your actions have therefore facilitated Horn to continue to commit crimes against myself and my family. I now offer you the opportunity to provide me with evidence of authentic court orders made by yourself while in your professional acting capacity as a judge. Also, all applications, claims, statements of truth, affidavits to accompany any legitimate orders, and proof of fee paid. If I do not receive evidence of your professional work in the form of authentic, signed and sealed court orders, I will have a right to take an inference that they don't exist. If you are unable to support these actions in your professional acting role, then you will be held liable in your private stroke personal capacity and as addressed as such in all future actions. Implied admission absent a response and compliance. So he responded to that, and get this. Well, this is off the County Court Manager. I have passed your letter of the 10th to His Honour Judge Piers Higgins. The judge informs me that your letter does not require any further response. So I immediately contacted the court and thanked them for that, because that means that he's operating in his personal capacity, and I know where he lives, so documents will be sent to his own house, because he's engaged himself and he owes me £1 million, right? But
No response as well.
no response, but I mean, I'm not telling everyone to go out and do that. What I'm saying to you is, I'm doing it, right, okay? And so, if people, I don't expect anyone to do anything like I do, but I'm doing that shit, right? And if I'm doing it, then take warmth in the fact that if I'm doing it, right, don't be frightened of it. Don't be new lot go and do it, or whatever, if you're not. But I'm doing it, and they're not doing shit back, right? And it's because they haven't got nothing. They've got nothing. We're dealing with criminals operating in private capacity, and that's what we're doing. They're robbing us. They're robbing us fucking blind. Apologise for the language, but they are, right? And we're stopping it. We're stopping it with boots on the ground, and we're stopping it by asking for the paperwork, which they haven't got. So onwards and upwards, and a Jaffa cake for the general.
Mr. Jaffa cake.